Welcome, welcome, welcome to another fabulous episode of My Orgasmic Life. I'm your hostess, Gaia Morrissette, and today's show is brought to you by tickle.life. Okay, so all of my viewers that get to see me, I'm wearing my, my PVC black corset, and for everybody who's listening, it really, I put my corset on for the show because I wear my corset when I drop into my Empress Gaia, my Dom self. And it helps me it's part of my costume. It's part of helps me to change my mindset. So anyways, it's also incredibly impressive. It's, first of all, takes a really long time to get into. It keeps my posture straight. And the other reason why I wear corsets while I'm doming is so I don't hurt myself. Because I can't bend in weird ways because I have to be straight. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about, first of all, it's been a while since we've dropped in and talked about kinky stuff. Woo! And I haven't forgot about all you kinksters. I'm still a kinkster, but, life has just kind of been, I haven't been able to spend much time in my dungeon, due to COVID. So, I haven't really been in that kind of like BDSM headspace. So let's start off the year right. Kink, kink, kink. Okay, so let's talk about foot fetish. Foot fetish or feet fetish are one of actually the most popular of the kinks in the world of BDSM and kinky lifestyle. And, there's different types of foot fetishes. So there's a difference between, let's talk about, thanks for all the love. There's difference between having a foot fetish and a foot kink. So let's start there. So a foot fetish is that the only way somebody gains any kind of sexual gratification in any activity, feet have to be involved. Some form of something to do with feet. It may just be feet directed, but feet have to be a part of the sequence. If that doesn't happen, there's no sexual gratification, okay? That's when we land in fetish territory. Having a foot kink is about, you like feet, you find feet sexy, you're attracted to feet, but it doesn't always have to exist in order for you to have a feeling of sexual gratification and the satisfaction. Okay, so let's start with I'm gonna own. I have a foot fetish. Not other people's feet. Just my own. I mean, I like other people's feet too, but I love my feet. I love my feet, and I love my feet being touched, and I love my feet being worshipped, and when babies kind of like stare at their feet and they're mesmerized by their feet, I still do that. I am so incredibly fascinated by my feet. So I would say I definitely have a foot fetish towards my feet, not a fetish, a foot kink towards my feet. I love my feet. But also I know that there's all sorts of sexual gratification to be had in my feet because of all the nerve endings that exist there. So when I can have I'm capable of having full on orgasmic releases, both in the sensations of my like footgasms as well as orgasms in other parts of my body. But it's directly, I've trained my body to respond to sensation in my toes goes all the way up to my clit. So that's because of that, needless to say, and it's funny that I've actually spent my whole life pretty much accidentally, this is before I consciously was aware of kink and feet and kink fetishes, foot fetishes and foot kinks, before I was even aware of all those things, I kind of attracted people that actually were into feet. And even when I was young, my best friend, who years later admitted to me, he used to always, every time we were hanging out, he would massage my feet. He would hang out with my feet. He would rub my feet and massage my feet. He'd like paint my toenails. And I just thought this was like this nice, pampering, nurturing thing. But turns out later that, you know, that was part of adding to his spank bank. So really early on in my life, you know, feet, you know, arousal response to feet had always been there on a subconscious level, moving into my adult years where it became more conscious. So I've had all sorts of different types of, you know, foot fetish people in my life and lovers. There's, you know, the people who are the feet people who are into the tops of your feet, meaning like the way that the slant, the tops and what it aesthetically looks like. All right, so here, I'll show you for everybody who's watching, I'll show you my feet. Let's see if I can do this without falling out of the chair. So here's the bottom of my feet. Here's the front of my feet. Whoa. I'm really way. And right now, by the way, they are a mess. They need a pedicure. But one person's, oh my God, don't look at them, is another person's like, oh my God, let me touch them. Right? So this is the fascinating thing about, there's so many different types and styles and experiences and arousal response from feet. So there's the aesthetic of the color of the nails and the pretty nails and the you know, the arch of the foot. There's the top of the foot. There's the bottom of the foot. So I just want to take a second here. Thank you, everybody who's watching and hanging out with me this morning. You're all incredibly fabulous. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay, back to feet. All right, so there's people who are really just into like the balls of their feet, the heel of the feet, the toes, the bottom of the toes, in between the toes. Then there's the great, you're very welcome. Then there's people who are aroused by touching the feet or having to put it in their mouth or having feet on them. You know, I've had lovers who just like to look, that they just like to see pretty feet while they're having sex, adds to the experience. Others where it's all about the feet and the whole sexual act is all about touching the feet, worshiping the feet, kissing the feet, sucking on the feet, fucking the feet, coming on the feet. And that in itself is the sexual act. There's no other sexual act. That's the sexual act. So there's so many variations. What else do I want to share with you about feet? So as I was saying, I like really, really pretty toes. Pretty toes. Love them. So, you know, I always have a well pedicured feet, except for today. It's after the holidays. I love looking at my toes. See, this is the whole fascination piece of my kink, my foot kink, is the whole looking at my feet and being mesmerized at how pretty they are. I'm like, woo, they're so pretty as I look at them. Woo, look at me. And my fiance, that's right, I now have a fiance, which we'll talk about in other shows. But anyways, so he really is into chipped nails. And like when you need to go get a pedicure, that's when it's like starts to get hot for him. And when it's like past like the point of where I wouldn't show anybody my feet, because I'd be like, no, don't look at my feet, they're hideous. When I'm at that stage, that's when he's like, ooh, that's hot. And that's when he gets a boner. So we kind of have this like in our relationship, we kind of have, I mean, he also likes them when they're pretty, but it doesn't create the same lust and arousal response for him as it does for me when they're pretty. So we kind of have made this agreement with each other. Before I get my pedicures done, I take a series of photos of my chipped nails, you know, and then I send that photo to him, and then he can use that photo for sexual gratification purposes if he would like. And then I get to go have my pretty feet. So that's kind of how we handle that. I know people who have traveled 12 hours just to be able to. Oh, I'm so glad. So somebody who's on the call live with me and I just want to share with the audience this beautiful thing that was just said. This is really helpful. It is so interesting to hear from a woman's perspective. Really, really helpful. So I'm glad. This is exciting. I'm glad that this is being helpful and inspiring and enjoyable. All right. So what else? Oh, so now let's talk about dirty feet. So there's dirty feet, and then there's smelly feet. So we have the physical aesthetics. Then we have the actual engagement, of the feet. But then there's the odor and the dirtiness of them. So some people are really, really, really turned on by stinky feet and the smell of stinky feet, and the more potent the feet are. And often, so I'm just talking about feet and foot kinks and fetishes today, but often foot kinks are often close with shoe kinks or boot kinks, some kind of footwear. And often they kind of go hand in hand for many people. And I'll do another show about that later. But for now, so there is an arousal response from the odor of people's feet. Now, I don't have stinky feet ever. I don't like wearing shoes. I don't like wearing socks. My feet typically don't sweat. So I never typically have stinky feet, which is, disappointing for all of my foot lovers who would like some aroma. My feet just don't emit them. All right. So, and it's really fascinating because we think we drop into this when we think of feet as being gross and smelly and disgusting. From a societal standpoint, not from, people that we're talking about that are into feet. But there's a lot of stuff about, there's a lot of people who find their feet disgusting, find other people's feet disgusting, can't allow anybody to touch their feet, that there's like all this like foot shame. My feet are too big, my feet are too gnarly, my toes are too this. It's like, again, with so many other pieces of our bodies, we don't love it. Or your feet are too ticklish. That's another one. And so I want to talk about ticklish for a second. So having a tickle response in your body happens for two reasons. The first reason is that you're uncomfortable, and it's your body's defense mechanism to pull out of that, to pull away, because you're not comfortable. You don't want to be there. And so it's your body's way, as it's like its own kind of defense mechanism. The other reason that we are ticklish is because there's hypersensitive nerves that are going into sort of like, which for everybody who's like watching me and that can't actually see me, I'm like shaking my hands, vibrating my hands really, really quickly. So it's like the nerves themselves are vibrating. They're overstimulated. And so again, that's what the tickle response is. And often in our feet in particular, if we don't find our feet gross and we love our feet and we don't mind, our feet being touched, then probably it's more, if you have incredibly ticklish feet, it's the secondary, meaning that the nerves are just too stimulated, which means that, by the way, under that tickle is epic orgasmic pleasure possibilities. So it's worth, trust me, it's totally worth working through it. Okay, so let's talk about how do we work through the tickle. So when you are, I would start, if you're incredibly ticklish and you want to awaken your feet, and by the way, whether it's from sorry, got to get something to drink here, whether it's from a receiving standpoint, and doesn't matter what gender you identify with or you are, everybody has super clusters, a bunch of clusters of nerve endings in the feet that are called, these are called erogenous zones, okay? And these clusters are nerve endings that are closest to the surface, so that when stimulated can have an arousal response that can be trained, if you allow, to have an orgasmic response. Okay, I'm not talking about an ejaculation, I'm talking about an orgasmic response in the body. So it doesn't really matter what bits you have, okay? Everybody's feet have them. Girls don't have it more than boys, or, you know, owners of vaginas don't have it more than owners of penises. They are equal across the board around arousal response with the nerve clusters in our feet. So it's well worth it. So here we go. So you have incredibly ticklish feet. How do we make them not so ticklish? Well, the first thing is that instead of light touch, you want to have more impact. So more intense pressure. That's the word I'm looking for. Pressure on the foot. So I would start, if you have really ticklish feet, I would start with yourself. Don't have anybody else do this. Start with yourself, touching your own. I can't get it up there like this. My boobs are in the way, and of course it's preventing this from happening. Woo, that was quite the feat. By the way, anybody who wasn't watching, who was listening, I was lifting up my foot to the camera. All right. So hold your foot. Just hold your foot. Start there. Then keep your pressure firm, like a massage pressure, and massage your foot. Just get comfortable with massaging your foot. Then slightly lessen your pressure. And when it starts to move into a tickle, and don't lighten your pressure, stop what you're doing for a second and increase your pressure. So you go back a level. And then ease up your pressure, move your hands around to see if you can get eventually to this place of not crazy tickle, but arousal. Allow the sensation and the nerve endings to awaken, and that takes time. So once you can do that for yourself, then I would recommend, with a partner, a lover, friend, whoever wants to touch your feet. Of course, it's consensual. You've already negotiated and talked about this. That you actually allow and you talk them through this. And you want to start with, hey, my feet are pretty ticklish, but I'd really like to awaken the orgasmic possibilities and the pleasure possibilities that exist in my feet. So can you help me facilitate that? And so again, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start with having their hand just on your foot. And then you're going to have them massage your foot with fair amount of pressure. Then after, they're going to like slowly ease their pressure. And if you get super ticklish, have them stop what they're doing and increase the pressure again, and allow and breathe into the sensations. Don't pull away, breathe into the sensations. Because I promise you, learning how to do this, not just with your feet, but for the rest of your body, will allow so much more orgasmic pleasure and pleasure possibilities. Okay. So that's the show about feet. Oh, I didn't talk much about dirty feet. I talked about smelly feet, but there's people who are really into dirty feet, which is great because my feet are always dirty because I'm never wearing socks or shoes. And again, it's all about what does that mean and the arousal response. So what I want to leave everybody that listened to this show is being attracted and having an arousal response from feet. And I just love the fact that you're not a weirdo. You're not alone. You're not a freak. It is who you are. And our arousal responses, see, we've been socialized. So here's the last thing I really want to talk about. We've been socialized to find certain body parts attractive. So breasts, that goes on the attractive, that we're supposed to be sexually aroused by breasts. Asses, genitals, lips. These are the things that we are allowed to have as a society. In this society, first of all, I want to talk about from North American culture, right? Because different cultures have different body parts that are acceptable to have arousal response to. But in particular, in North America, these are the big ones: boobs, so breasts, ass, genitals, and lips. But the reality is that every part of your body has abilities to have an arousal response, and every part of your body can be sexualized. You know, somebody might find somebody's ankles really hot. Somebody might find somebody's earlobes really hot. Somebody might find somebody's wrists really hot. Somebody might find somebody's knees really sexy. And then there's a lot of people who find other people's feet really, really hot. And that doesn't make you a weirdo, and that doesn't make you a freak, and that doesn't make anything wrong with you. It's just part of what, you created your arousal response. And it makes sense that you be attracted to feet because they have a lot of nerve endings in them for arousal response. So like, not just from an aesthetic standpoint of looking at them, but when you touch them, they have a reaction. They're just as reactive as the genitals can be. There's just as many, not as many, but I would say next to the genitals, they're the most nerve endings of arousal response. So it makes total sense. So don't hide it. Don't feel like a weirdo. Don't feel like a freak, and own that you're into feet. And there are people who will enjoy and play with you in that capacity. If you need extra support and you need extra help navigating this, please come hang out with me. You can reach me at gaiamorrissette.com and see all the different things that how I show up in the world. For specific areas of BDSM, you can go to Empress Gaia, but you go to gaiamorrissette.com is the hub, and it takes you wherever you need to go. The other thing I want to talk to you about is that I'm really excited that I'm launching a new exclusive membership, monthly membership, BDSM monthly membership. And I'm really excited about this. So if you really enjoyed our conversation about feet, and you want to actually see what it looks like to have a foot session, that would be, you might want to become a member. So the membership is going to take a kink once a month. I'm going to take one kink. We're going to have education around that kink, where it comes from, why people do it, all the safety protocols, all the things. And then I will have a play session, whether with my volunteer, with experts, but we will have an actual play session, so you can see what it looks like in real time, in real life. And then afterwards, you will be able to ask questions of the people that were participating in this, so that you can have all your questions answered. So it's a combination of education, entertainment, and it's amazing. So I launched that, and we start next month. So if you're interested and you want to be, and I have preferred rates for pre-launch. So if you're interested, let me know. It's half price. It'll be $47 for pre-launch price, and then all for preferred rates for all of my past students and clients and things like that. And you can find all the details on empressgaia.com. But you can just go to the hub, gaiamorrissette.com, and go into the world of BDSM, and it'll be right there. You can go find all the logistic details. So, and how to join and all those things. So I hope to see you in the membership. And I lovingly, 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 lovingly that's beautiful. I'm so glad. You're very, very welcome. So I lovingly hope you have a juicy day filled with sexual exploration, self-acceptance, and awakening new possibilities. And if you weren't a foot person before this show, maybe you're like, ooh, that kind of sounds like I'm missing out. I hope so. All right. Have a juicy day. May it be filled with love and exploration. And don't forget to support your host. Tip your host. Join my Patreon. Tip your host. Love yous. Mwah. Bye-bye.